You served in the Obama administration and have seen, you're a high-ranking cabinet official, Attorney General of the United States. You've seen what the president has to do in terms of decision-making under conditions of duress, under conditions of crisis. What is your main takeaway from watching the last 2 months of governance from this White House amidst this historical cataclysm?
Well, it seems to me that this president is showing that he's really not up to it. Any other president, and again, Republican or Democrat, would have seized the opportunity to mobilize the nation, to galvanize an effort that would more effectively deal with the pandemic that afflicts this nation. I mean, can you imagine Ronald Reagan? Can you imagine Bill Clinton? Either of the Bushes, Barack Obama, saying that this is something for the states to work out, as opposed to leading an effort by the federal government to mobilize the people, mobilize the instruments of government to deal with this pandemic. This president has not, he's not up to the job, and his incompetence is going to cost us, not only in terms of lives lost, people always say that, but this economy. The problems that we're having with our economy are directly related to the lack of effort, the lack of decision-making, the lack of leadership in the early parts of this pandemic. So there are two consequences as a result of the incompetence of this president that we have to deal with: the health crisis as well as the economic one.